A column of 6 Russian trucks is moving to command center. A Ukrainian intelligence drone reports coordinates to Allied rocket forces, and a HIMARS opens fire. A precise strike hits the target, destroying the trucks and the ammunition depot. Russian artillery units move into position and start firing at Ukrainian soldiers supporting the assault. A HIMARS receives the coordinates and opens fire. HIMARS strikes with pinpoint accuracy, destroying 2 very important targets. SA-17 is spotted by Ukrainian drone. HIMARS wastes no time and opens fire. A precise hit turns Russian air defense into fireworks. Two Ukrainian HIMARS open fire with ATACMS missiles, targeting enemy ammunition depot. Precise strike results in detonation of cruise missiles and artillery shells, turning night into day. Intelligence reports coordinates of Russian ammunition storage, and Ukrainian forces waste no time. A precise hit from HIMARS successfully destroys massive ammunition depot. Ukrainian forces use a combined missile-drone strike. It's often better than using just one of the two for several tactical and strategic reasons. Together, they saturate enemy air defenses. Drones can act as decoys or reconnaissance ahead of the strike, making it unclear which targets are real. Such strike took place targeting a large Russian arsenal. A detonation of the 30,000 tons of ammunition triggers a small earthquake and turns night into day. A Russian Grad rocket system was spotted by Ukrainian drone. The coordinates are reported. Ukrainian HIMARS takes a shot. A massive column of more than 20 Russian vehicles is spotted, and a HIMARS prepares to strike. The back of the column is targeted to destroy most valuable equipment such as tanks and artillery units. Let's look at the results of the strikes. More than 4 tanks were destroyed, 4 artillery units destroyed or heavily damaged. The next target is a Russian field depot. A precise strike destroys the target. Russian 203mm artillery is firing at Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian intelligence drone spots the target, and HIMARS operators are quick to respond. Ukrainian HIMARS opens fire with ATACMS missiles. Russian S-300 air defense systems launch multiple rockets trying to shoot it down. The missile uses ballistic trajectory to reach the target. When the target is reached, it starts spinning. Rocket deploys hundreds of bomblets, destroying everything in 300-meter range. In this case, 3 S-300 systems and a radar station were destroyed and 1 heavily damaged. SA-17 is spotted by Ukrainian intelligence alongside the radar station. First shot destroys the radar, and the second shot strikes the anti-aircraft system. And this is Russian command center. HIMARS operators open fire. Precise strikes level the command center to the ground. 4 Russian Grads were spotted. HIMARS reacts quickly and opens fire. 2 grads are destroyed, while others manage to hide in tree lines, but HIMARS leaves them no chance to escape. Two Russian Mi-8 and Ka-52 attack helicopters were spotted by military intelligence. HIMARS uses extended range munition, destroying 3 helicopters, leaving 1 heavily damaged. More than 10 Russian trucks full of infantry were spotted. Precise strikes land one after another, destroying enemy vehicles. A massive ammunition depot is identified. Ukrainian rocket forces are quick to respond. And this grad was firing at Ukrainian positions. Crew leaves the firing position, leading drone to the ammunition storage, and HIMARS wastes no time. The fire slowly spreads across the trees. After a few minutes, it reaches the ammunition, and this happens. Russian $15 million rocket system was spotted. Ukrainian HIMARS opens fire. This Russian column, which consists of more than 10 trucks and armored vehicles, was spotted 10th of miles away from the front line, but the HIMARS operators leave Russians no chance to escape. As the result, 90% of the column were completely destroyed. This truck was delivering artillery rounds from the storage, but it was spotted by Ukrainian drone. The HIMARS moves into position and strikes. The first rocket damages the trucks, but it's not enough. The second rocket is fired. Shrapnel hits the engines and sets Russian trucks on fire. And a few minutes later, fire reaches the ammunition, and this happens. This Russian column consists of dozen APCs and tanks. Ukrainian artillery opens fire with the help of the reconnaissance drone. One of the tanks gets destroyed with the precise fire of Ukrainian artillery. Ukrainian forces used Javelin missiles, turning Russian vehicles into a pile of burning metal. The rest of the column tries to escape, but gets hit with RPG and drone strikes. Look at this tank. It's one of the few who survived in this battle. It opens fire at Ukrainian trenches. But Ukrainian forces have a special present for the Russian vehicle. Russian tank has to retreat. Meanwhile, his comrade tank explodes, launching its turret 10th of feet in the sky. Russian armored group is deployed on another assault. Just look at the quantity of the Russian vehicles. BMPs drive past their already destroyed tank, and the battle begins. The first APC charges at full speed and hits a mine. The main column is targeted by Ukrainian artillery. Such small road allows Ukrainians to strike direct hits on enemy vehicles. This tank tried to drive past already destroyed vehicles. Take a close look. The field is entirely covered in mines. You can only guess what was in the crew's heads. And here is another assault. Russians use more than 20 pieces of equipment. Ukrainian defenders use anti-tank missiles. Cluster munition hits the Russian column, damaging the vehicles. Look at this APC. A Russian armored group had to deploy the infantry near Ukrainian trenches here and retreat. The column cannot just drive past because of the mines all over the field. Because of this one APC, the whole mission is now a complete failure. HIMARS strikes. Artillery units and brave Ukrainian soldiers destroy massive Russian column, leaving occupiers no chance to escape. Russians use 6 pieces of heavy equipment on another assault. The column is now a target for Ukrainian ATGMs and mortars. Russian tanks get hit, but they keep advancing. As soon as Russian vehicles group, Ukrainian artillery opens fire with American M777. Shells land one after another, destroying Russian column. Occupiers carry massive losses due to incompetence. Some of them flee the battlefield, leaving the rest of their soldiers. Now take a look at this tank. The only survivor is charging at a full speed, but then something unexpected happens. The tank hits the already destroyed APC and stops. Ukrainian drone operators waste no time and deploy FPV drones. Russians abandon the tank, fleeing the battlefield. This particular tank had a rare electronic warfare station on its turret. But when the night comes, 2 brave Ukrainian soldiers try to evacuate this tank. Luckily, the engine was not damaged. Ukrainian soldiers successfully drive the tank back to their positions. Take a look at these 2 brave young men. Their courage is just unmatched. A Russian command center is spotted by Ukrainian intelligence. The coordinates are immediately reported to Ukrainian rocket forces, and the HIMARS operators waste no time. A precise strike destroys the target. The Buk is a Russian-made, self-propelled, medium-range air defense missile system capable of targeting aircraft and missiles, and has been actively used by both Russia and Ukraine during the ongoing war. HIMARS receives the coordinates and strikes. Target is destroyed. FPV drones cause more than 80% of Russian casualties, but the technology is evolving incredibly fast as Ukrainian FPV drone is hunting Russian fiber optic drone. Such interception is possible because the original FPV is much lighter than the fiber optic drone. Drone technology evolves every second of the war. Ukrainian forces deploy a land drone to target a Russian dugout spotted earlier. Ukrainian drone moves into position and opens precise fire at Russian positions. Russian tank is spotted. Ukrainian drone operators deploy FPV. Tank is heavily protected from the drone strikes. Ukrainians deploy a swarm of drones to guarantee the tank's destruction. The final blow is delivered by so-called termite, an FPV drone equipped with the burning mixture, which is extremely effective against Russian tanks. This tank was abandoned by Russians. FPV drones are deployed. This tank was spotted despite its great camouflage. Ukrainian drones are on their way to destroy the enemy vehicle. This Russian artillery unit was left in open field. Ukrainian long-range FPV drones are deployed. First drone strikes damaging the vehicle. The second drone targets the ammunition, and this happens. Bradley was deployed to clear out the occupied village. First, the drone spots the ammunition depot and Ukrainian M777 open fire. As the sun goes down, Ukrainian armored group advances towards the village. A Bradley opens fire at Russian hideouts, penetrating the walls like butter. When the enemy is suppressed by fire, Bradley deploys Ukrainian troops to clear out the rest of the village and successfully leaves the battlefield. Now let's look at Bradley's armor capabilities. Russian troops spot the Bradley and open fire with a TGM missile. A direct strike hits the vehicle, but armor withstands the damage. Russians fire a second ATGM. A second missile hits the Bradley and vehicle stops. But most importantly, it saves lives of Ukrainian soldiers. Here are the results of the strikes. Only the tracks were damaged, the armor successfully withstood the impact, and the vehicle remained in almost perfect condition. This Russian APC was sent to the meat grinder assault, but Ukrainians deploy Bradley to counter Russian offense. Russians jump off in panic as the APC stops. The APC turns around, but it was already in Bradley's sight. Russian crew tries to escape quickly, but Ukrainian Bradley opens fire. Shells penetrate the armor, causing massive damage to the enemy APC. The Bushmaster gun slices through the Russian vehicle. The engine is hit, and the APC is on fire. Now let's look at the infamous duel of a Ukrainian Bradley and a Russian T-90 tank. A battle begins when a Bradley drives right at the Russian tank. Ukrainians open fire at the enemy. Russian tank takes a shot, but it misses. Bradley manages to successfully escape. That's when the second Bradley rolls in and opens fire at Russian T-90. Non-stop fire from Ukrainian Bradley hits the Russian tank, damaging the optics and navigation systems. As the battle continues, Russian tank suffers more damage each second. As the result, turret started spinning on its own, and the Russian crew totally lost control over the tank. The adventures of T-90 come to an end when it uncontrollably drives into a tree and stops. A Russian BTR full of infantry is heading to Ukrainian positions, and Bradley opens fire. Close hit. The Russian vehicle is still on the move. Enemy vehicle stops to deploy an infantry. We can see more than 10 troopers jumping off. Russians tried to drive off as quickly as possible. The Ukrainian FPV drone was already too close. A direct hit and the vehicle stops. The second drone is on its way to destroy the target. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Bradley moves in to clear the Russian infantry. Bradley operators use destroyed Russian vehicle as cover and open fire. A Russian column was advancing when two front vehicles drive on mines. Ukrainian Leopard opens fire at the occupiers. Russians leave their armored vehicles and run. Meanwhile, Leopard tank retreats and continues hunt on the rest of the column. A Russian hideout was spotted by intelligence drone. Ukrainian forces waste no time and deploy an Abrams tank. It moves closer to Russian positions and opens precise fire. Mission is successful, and Abrams leaves without even a scratch. And this tank is taking out Russian positions in occupied village. It's a British Challenger tank. After taking out the first building, Challenger turns around and heads to the next location. Ukrainian tank successfully clears the Russian positions and leaves the battlefield unharmed. Now let's look at the difference between the Western and Russian tanks. This Leopard was stopped and the ammunition catches fire. Despite that, Ukrainian crew managed to escape and remain unharmed. Now let's look what happens when the ammunition on Russian tank catches fire. Ukrainian Bradleys are heading to Russian positions. They open fire with the Bushmaster cannon and move closer to Russian positions. Russians use ATGM to target Ukrainian Bradleys. A direct hit, but the vehicle is on the move. Russians deploy FPV drones and target the second Bradley. Despite all the Russian efforts to stop the assault, Bradleys keep advancing forward. Ukrainian soldiers quickly move in the building. Meanwhile, Bradley is taking out Russian positions. A precise fire leaves Russians no chance to strike back. And when the mission is complete, Bradley successfully leaves the battlefield unharmed. A Russian tank was spotted within the mile of Ukrainian Bradley. Missile is fired. A precise hit leaves Russian tank no chance to survive. A dangerous mission is carried out by Ukrainian tank and Bradley. Vehicles advance alongside Russian troops and open fire. The tank suppresses Russian forces with precise fire supporting the Bradley. Meanwhile, Ukrainian troops are holding the important position just meters away from the Russians. Ukrainian artillery uses cluster munition to stop the Russian advance and win some time. Meanwhile, Bradley storms in and opens fire at Russians. Despite the Russians' effort to stop the Bradley, Ukrainian soldiers managed to evacuate. Thanks to the enormous efforts of Bradley's crew, this mission is successful and Ukrainian heroes are saved. FPV drone approaches abandoned tank. Just like that, it blows apart. And here is another one. It's already on fire, but the fireworks are on the way. This is Russian $15 million multiple rocket system. The drone strikes the target, causing enormous explosion. This Russian tank has an anti-drone protection. But it won't save him. Ukrainian drone operators are making miracles like this one. Such massive explosion occurs because of the detonation of the ammunition inside. This BMP was abandoned by Russians, but it is still very important to destroy it in case it gets dragged back to enemy. This small vehicle was a main supplier of ammunition. This APC got stopped by Ukrainian forces, but Russians could still take it back. Drone penetrates the armor, causing the fire inside the vehicle. The target is destroyed. This tank was coming back from assault, but the drone strikes the target. A $5 million tank is torn to pieces by a $500 drone. After a failed assault, Russians have abandoned this tank. Ukrainian drone operator takes his time to find the weakest spot and strikes. Two Russian BMPs are firing at Ukrainian positions. One of them gets hit, but armor withstands the damage. The battle continues, but the BMP is retreating when suddenly it hits an anti-tank mine. Russians flee the battlefield, leaving damaged BMP, and the Ukrainian drone operators are ready to engage. This BMP was spotted by reconnaissance drone, and Ukrainian forces waste no time. The vehicle stops and becomes an easy target for Ukrainian forces. This BMP was hit by a mine. It is a matter of time until it's destroyed. This tank and BMP were stuck and were abandoned by Russians. A Ukrainian FPV drone strikes the target. This is Russian Ur-77 meteorite. It shoots at TNT explosives to remove the mines, but today it's not its luckiest day. After a few minutes, the fire reaches the ammunition, and this happens. This is Russian TOS rocket system. It fires thermobaric warheads which are extremely dangerous for the infantry, but its range is only up to 10 kilometers, which makes it vulnerable to drone strikes. This Russian BM-21 Grad was firing at Ukrainian positions. The reconnaissance identifies the target, and the long-range FPV drone is on its way. Reconnaissance reports a Russian Buk air defense system, and the Ukrainian rocket forces are quick to respond. This Russian tank was heading towards Ukrainian positions, but Ukrainian drone operators respond very quickly and deploy an FPV drone. The first drone strikes the engine, but the tank keeps moving, so Ukrainians deploy another one. The second drone immobilizes the tank. Now it's only the matter of time until it's destroyed. The armor withstands the drone strikes, but it is important to finish the tank completely. The final drone strikes, the target is destroyed. This tank was abandoned. You can see the so-called Sarai protection, but it won't help. Here is another one. Ukrainian drone strikes precisely in the back of the turret. Massive fireball erupts as the drone hits the ammunition. Ukrainian intelligence drone identifies enemy artillery unit. This is Russian 122mm Gvozdika. It can fire shells up to 15 kilometers. After it gets spotted, the crew decided to leave the positions, but it was already too late. The drone strikes the target. Here's the slow motion replay. You can clearly see a drone flying to its target. The vehicle stops and becomes an easy target for Ukrainian drone operators. And this Russian artillery unit was trying to hide in the forest, but it gets spotted. This BMP was abandoned after a failed assault, and now it's just a prey for Ukrainian drones. A massive ammunition detonation. Look at the results of such explosion. What used to be a BMP turns into a pile of burning metal. Ukrainian drone operators are a real nightmare for Russian vehicles. Take a look at this, for example. This Russian truck gets spotted, and Ukrainian forces waste no time. They deploy an FPV drone. The drone strikes the engine, causing the vehicle to burn to the ground. This BMP was left with its back doors open. The drone strikes the target, causing a fire inside. And after a few minutes, this happens. A Ukrainian drone operator spots the Russian abandoned vehicle. An FPV drone is deployed. Abrams drives in a village full of Russians and opens fire. Russian hideout is torn to pieces by precise fire. A Bradley joins the battle and unleashes full power leveling Russian hideout to the ground. Meanwhile, Abrams takes another shot and finishes off Russian occupiers. Today we are going to look at the best moments of Western-supplied armored vehicles in the ongoing war. From Abrams tank rolling over Russian trenches to a single Leopard tank destroying the whole column of Russian vehicles. 3 Ukrainian Bradleys are deployed for an assault. They drive past the Russian defense lines. Bradley uses the smoke screen to prevent Russian strikes and advances at a full speed towards enemy positions. Bradley operator stops and aims directly at the Russian tree line. TOW anti-tank missile is fired at the Russian dugouts. As the missile flies, it unspools 2 thin wires from its rear. These wires are connected back to the launcher. It sends information through wires and makes this missile immune to jamming. Meanwhile, the battle continues as Bradleys advance closer to the Russian positions. 25mm Bushmaster gun is firing 200 rounds per minute, unleashing real hellfire at Russian positions. Bradley successfully suppressed the Russian infantry, allowing more forces to engage. The Ukrainian armored group keeps advancing closer to Russian positions. The operation is finished. Ukrainian Bradleys successfully leave the battlefield unharmed. They are ready to reload and come back for more. This Russian tank was moving near Ukrainian positions until that happened. Ukrainian tank is on its mission and is ready to engage. The first shot hits the target, penetrating the armor. The second shot is fired, causing massive damage to the enemy vehicle. Meanwhile, the Russians use 8 TGM missiles to target Ukrainian tank. The third shot sets Russian tank on fire. Target is destroyed. This mission is successful. Now it's important to leave the battlefield as quickly as possible. Three Russian anti-tank groups are sending ATGM missiles from different directions, one after another. Just look at this. ATGM flies centimeters away from the tank. Luckily, it's not hit and gets away safely. A massive column of Russian vehicles is deployed on another assault. Ukrainian 152 caliber artillery is firing shells one after another. The battle continues, but meanwhile, Ukrainian forces deploy a tank. This one brave tank enters the battlefield and fires shells at Russian vehicles. Russian BMPs are firing non-stop, turning once a village into a hellfire. Once BMPs enter the tank's vision, it opens precise fire. Russians carry massive losses each minute of this battle as Ukrainian tank bravely defends its soil. Unfortunately, later that battle, Ukrainian Rambo tank was lost, but the crew's bravery is just unmatched. More than 20 pieces of Russian armor are deployed in the assault. Look, here are 3 columns of enemy vehicles. Ukrainian forces waste no time and deploy FPV drones. Ukrainians use ATGM missiles, FPV drones, artillery units. The battle turns into a disaster for Russians as their vehicles begin to explode one by one. A group of 2 Russian vehicles, which consists of a tank and APC, are advancing towards Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian drone operators are quick to respond and deploy FPV drones. A Russian depot is spotted by intelligence. Ukrainians use American M777 with GPS-guided Excalibur shells to target Russian armored vehicles. Direct hits from Ukrainian artillery tears Russians' vehicles apart. This Ukrainian tank was on its mission and something unexpected happens. A Russian tank is charging at a full speed right at Ukrainian tank. Luckily, the crew opens fire first, destroying crazy enemy. And this Ukrainian tank was deployed to counter the massive Russian assault. The direct hit from Ukrainian crew and Russian armored vehicle stops. A second shot is fired with Ally artillery forces destroying another vehicle. This is Russian T-90 is firing at Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian tank identifies the target and crew wastes no time. Direct hit turns new Russian tank into ashes. Russian tank is spotted at the end of the street and the shot is fired. A precise hit sets enemy vehicle on fire. The second shot completely destroys the target. Ukrainian armored group emerges as enemy tank is firing at the infantry position. Ukrainian tank fires the first shot. It lands just meters away from the enemy. Second shot is fired. Russian tank begins to retreat. A direct hit from an FPV drone, but armor withstands the damage. Russian tank is heavily damaged and has to leave the battlefield. This Russian BMP was advancing at Ukrainian positions, but Ukrainian BMP spots the enemy and opens precise fire. After a few hits, enemy vehicle stops. Ukrainian drone confirms that that vehicle was successfully captured by Ukrainian defenders.